Live from WOWT, this is a First Alert 6 weather day.
Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us here on First Alert 6 streaming. I'm Cerise Cole.
And I'm Erin Hartley, of course, joined by meteorologist Jarrett Lansford and Senior Chief Meteorologist Rusty Lord. All right, a lot to get to today. Yeah. It's really more this evening that people got to be looking out for on this First Alert weather day.
Yeah, it keeps trending later and later with the start time, which I think is okay. We get some later storms, shortens the window, and it gives everybody a little more opportunity to get done what they need to today. But let's talk about what's out there with the severe threat for today. Out ahead of the storms, we got wind gusts to 50 miles per hour. And there's going to be a complex of storms moving through tonight, but it looks like they'll mostly hold off until after 8 and move through the midnight time frame. So that 4-hour window is probably the best bet for some severe weather. Hail and wind are the main threats with those as we move through. Still, the threats haven't changed. The timing has slid a little later, and we'll get to about 60 for the high today. You can see the greatest severe risk down in Kansas and Oklahoma with a 3 out of 5. In our area, we're watching the north edge of the 2 out of 5 in our southern counties. 1 out of 5 for everybody else. But the storms will start to the west in our western counties around 8 o'clock-ish and then move west and may increase in coverage but lose a little steam as they're moving through. With the tornado threat pretty low, we'll watch for wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour within storms, and then golf ball size hail might end up being the greatest risk in that yellow shaded area to the south. We're seeing that maybe become the trend here. You'll notice south winds today, though, gusting near 45 miles per hour. It's going to be a very blustery day with the south wind trying to funnel moisture up towards this storm system, and then you can see it backs off later on tonight. Here's what we have out there right now. It looks a little ominous with some snow on the map, but a lot of this is struggling to reach the ground. There could be a little bit of this, but most of this probably evaporating before it does reach the ground. This here near Fremont probably has the best chance. Whatever's closest to the radar here is likely what is reaching the ground. The beam gets a little higher up the farther out you go, and that means it's hitting some of this up in the cloud, but it may not be reaching the ground around the area. So as we go through the forecast here, I'll give you a first alert to what could be some spotty light showers that, like I just showed you on the map there, through about lunch. Into the afternoon, it's clouds and wind primarily as temperatures try to climb some by 3 o'clock. But they bumped up the start time of the Creighton, Nebraska game down in Lincoln at Haymarket Park to 2:30. You can see by 5, still dry. So it's going to be windy, it's going to be cloudy, but should get the game in there. We also have Storm Chasers opening night tonight around 6:30. Still storms to the west around first pitch for that. It's going to be a windy one, but you can see as we go later into the evening, there you go, by 9, 10 o'clock, maybe towards the tail end of that game out at Werner Park. That's where you could have some thunderstorm potential. So that's what it looks like by about 10 o'clock with the storm starting to cross the river. Into the overnight hours, look how they increase in coverage, but the strongest storms may be down here near Falls City. And then hopefully just some beneficial rain that could last overnight right into the early morning hours of Wednesday. But by then the severe threat is well to the east. So as the day progresses, here's your rain chances. Pretty minimal here this morning. Not too much this afternoon. Then we'll watch after 8 o'clock for the increased risk of thunderstorms and then severe potential within those storms. Hail and wind, again, the main risk. I think the tornado risk pretty low. That's probably going to be down in Kansas and Missouri.
Yeah, okay. So even once these storms die down, the winds won't? Well, those are going to stick with us tomorrow, too?
That's the story. So you got the wind out ahead of the storm system today. You get the wind behind the storm system tomorrow that's likely going to be fairly noteworthy. You can see the windy here, but we still go to 62, and we'll get some more sunshine out of it. So there may be a couple of morning showers to get through, but the afternoon looks to be pretty good on Wednesday. We can erase the wind on Thursday and go to 58. But there's your wind gust forecast for tomorrow. Look at in the morning hours, gusting 25 to 30. Those will pick up and could go 35. Maybe even 40 miles per hour on Wednesday. So pretty pesky out of the west on Wednesday, but should be able to warm up. So a couple of windy days here. We're on front side of the system today, back side of the system tomorrow. Strong enough that it's bringing wind in the equation both days. 54 on Friday with some more showers. We're on the north edge of a system there on Friday that should clear out for the weekend, but it's going to be a little on the breezy side. And temperatures topping out near 50, so a little cooler than average. Watch your couple of mornings. I turned on my sprinkler system, but haven't run it yet. Any above ground pipes, maybe disconnect some garden hoses for early next week. It's got a couple mornings where we dip down into the 20s before we see a nice recovery for much of next week, where we make a run at 70 degrees. Ooh. So we're not seeing the big temperature extremes, but some ups and downs there.
We do need those 20s to die.
That would go, that'd be
away.
Nice. Yeah, I know. Nobody wants any more cold stuff anymore.
No.
So it's April. Get it out of here.
Yeah. All right. Gonna update on traffic this morning. You have some updates about the 480 bridge.
You know, we've been talking about this a lot the last week or so. It's been a big problem for anyone trying to drive in from Council Bluffs, some of our Iowa towns, and here we go again. We've got big delays that are in place as you're trying to cross the 480 bridge over the Missouri River, and there's your reason why. You could see the construction that's in place. You have to stay over to the left as you're making your way through this area, and that's backing up in a big way. Here's what it's looking like as far as the delays that stretch almost to I-29. You've got speeds that are in the single digits at some spots as you're making your way along the ramps and over the bridge. So not a fun time. So you can use I-80 as an alternate route and go a lot closer to the speed that you would be expecting to go and not have to deal with all of this. This is probably going to be in place here for a little while too. We've still got that ramp closed to go to Dodge all the way until the end of the month. So still several weeks with that. New closure if you're someone who drives through Midtown. This is Farnham between 33rd and 34th. This was something we had been expecting to happen at some point and just kind of appeared during the overnight hours. Several of us got caught up in this. So you want to avoid that area. You've still got some of these lane closures that are in place in the Blackstone area on Farnham, but that is a full closure. So use Dodge, use Leavenworth. Those are some good options to get east-west. While you're maneuvering around that, also remember 36th has varying lane restrictions between Harney and Leavenworth. Leavenworth has its own lane restrictions that are in place too. So there's just a lot of construction to try to keep straight. So take a deep breath. As you're planning, there you go, and then leave a little earlier, so that way you have time in case you run into anything construction-wise, closures or lane restrictions. You have time to still get to your destination on time and also not throw something out the window because you're so frustrated about it. We've got the full list of all these different construction areas on our website too, so that way you can kind of study up on those and maneuver around those. We'll touch on some more of those in a bit because that's where we have a lot of our slowdowns. Most roads though, including the JFK, actually in pretty good shape as we're starting things off this morning. Just watch for those dreaded orange cones as you're heading out and about.
Yeah, I like when you end on a positive.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very good, Jay. Thank you for all of that. All right, to our big story, the Omaha mayoral primary today. We'll know which two candidates will advance to next month's general election by tonight.
Yeah, First Alert 6's Maria Cade joins us live once again from the Douglas County Election Commission office with all what you need to know before you head out to the polls. Maria.
Yeah, less than an hour to go now, Aaron and Cerise. Polls open at 8 a.m. and they will be open until tonight, 8 o'clock p.m. At that point, we'll start to find out those voting totals. And officials here at the Election Commission say that about half of the people who they are expecting to come out and vote today have already done so. That was during the early voting. But they believe that not even half of the overall people who are registered and eligible to vote are even going to turn out for today's election. Now, Election Commissioner Brian Cruz expects there to be a 30% voter turnout. That's his prediction. And just to put that into perspective, during the 2021 primary, there was a 28.5% turnout. Seeing a little bit higher numbers there. Of course, all eyes, like you said, are on the mayoral race today. Once the polling places close at 8, we're going to know which of the two candidates will move on to that general election after the primary. Now, another interesting race to keep in mind, city council seat that's in Omaha's District 2. There are 9 different candidates who are on the ballot in that race. Now, while Brian Cruz's prediction might seem a little bit low at 30%, he says that the numbers for voter turnout are actually getting better.
Before that, 2017 back to 05, it was around 20%, but we've seen that number ticking up. But I also think, again, some of the races that we've had, and just as Omaha continues to grow, I think people are becoming more engaged. We're not a sleepy little town anymore. We're a big city.
Now, again, the top 2 vote getters in each race are going to move on to the general election. It's happening in just over a month on May 13th, so a pretty quick turnaround for that.
All right, Maria, thank you so much. You also have a look at how poll workers are preparing for what should be a busy day ahead, too.
Yeah, when we were here at the Election Commission, just about 6 o'clock, right before then, the parking lot started filling up. We saw many, many people here, election workers, who were making their way out to get their training before the polls open at 8 o'clock. Of course, when you talk about elections, a hot button topic that comes up, especially in recent years, is voter fraud. We hear it a lot on the national level, but you don't really hear it too much here in Douglas County. And election officials say that's because of all those poll workers. There are a lot of eyes on the ballots and making sure that everything is going smoothly. Now, yesterday, First Alert 6 went behind the scenes to take a look at that ballot counting process. And one really important job for an election worker is the ballot observers. Now, we spoke to one. His name's Mike Roy. He says the process here in Douglas County is evidence that people can work together to make sure we all have free and fair elections.
It seems like a real efficient process. They have a bipartisan couple at each machine, so to prevent any kind of fraud or anything like that. So it looks pretty safe, pretty efficient operation.
Now, Mike told us that this is the first time that he actually got to see those ballots being counted in person. He's been an election worker before, but this is his first time he was able to do that. Election Commissioner Brian Cruz says those early ballots that we got that sneak peek, looking at how they were counting it yesterday, those are going to be the first ballots and the first results that are released tonight, right when the polls close at 8 o'clock. So, of course, when we get all that information, we'll be first alerting you to that both on air and on our website, firstalert6.com.
Those numbers come in at 8 o'clock. We'll have them. All right, Maria Kane, live with us all morning long. Maria, thank you so much for your live reports. And still ahead this morning, updates on 2 fires here in the metro.
Plus, more traffic and weather from Rusty and Jared on this First Alert 6 weather day when we come back.
Welcome back, everybody. We are taking a live look outside on this Tuesday morning, first day of April.
Yeah, watch yourself.
Yeah, watch yourself. Off to a cool start, 40 degrees right now. Let's check in with Senior Chief Meteorologist Rusty Lord. Of course, you know this is a First Alert 6 weather day. Many of you have plans. I know we've got baseball games today, so everybody wants to know the timing when we can expect those storms.
The good news is everything keeps trending later and later.
Okay.
So the earlier you have games, the better things will be. You can get practices in, whether it's high school, little league, AAU. I don't know. There's like leagues for everything now. We got some college games in play. Got minor league baseball today kicking off. And yeah, we got storm timing. And overall, just not a great weather day for it. It's going to be a windy one. But here's a storm thread. Probably the 8 to 11 window primarily in the metro and along the river. It marches a little farther east. And by 10 o'clock starts to fill in our Iowa counties. The earliest is probably that 2-hour window between 7 and 9 in our western counties when storms will fire up. So we'll just average it all together, say 8 o'clock is the earliest we get storms in the metro and most of the viewing area. Greatest risk for severe is in the southern half, basically south of I-80, go a little farther north, a little cooler, a little less energy to work with. So a 1 out of 5 on the scale there. The greatest risk is I-70 down towards Wichita and Oklahoma City. That is also where the greatest tornado risk is as well. So that's where the brunt of the severe focus will be. We'll keep the tornado risk low for us. Wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour possible in some of the strongest storms. And you can see it's because of that yellow shaded area. It sneaks up into our viewing area. Hail up to golf ball size potential there. It's going to be a very windy day out ahead of this. Gusts up near 40 to 45 all the way through 9, 10 o'clock tonight before any storms move in. And then into the overnight, that will lessen quite a bit. Now, there is a little rain on the map as of right now. You can see there's been some snow showers trying to show up in west central Iowa. Bulk of that likely not reaching the ground until you get up here near Sioux City, I would expect. And there are a couple of showers, Fremont to Blair, moving through as well, and some of this probably reaching the ground a little easier. So a couple light showers out there this morning. Overall, not a big issue, but you can see what models do. Bring a few spotty showers through with a lunch hour. Clouds are locked in here as we go hour by hour through it. And the first alert to that game in Lincoln between Creighton and Nebraska has been moved up to 2:30. As you can see, that looks like a great idea. Can get the game in without any issues. Might hurt the crowd a little bit, but later on tonight, 6:30 is when Storm Chasers season kicks off, and storms should still be to the west by then. And you get towards the later innings, 7th, 8th, 9th inning, you might run into some storms sneaking in from the west here. You have to pay attention to a couple of stronger storms. That's where the severe potential will move in, and then that marches east. I think the overall strength of these storms starts to weaken a little bit by midnight, but the coverage could grow and fill up with more widespread soaking rain, which I don't think would be bad news by 3 a.m. Wednesday morning. Still a little bit left on the radar, but I think that moves out before the morning drive on Wednesday. And you'll notice the winds on Wednesday do pick up. Out of the west, they'll gust up to 35, I think, pretty easy in the afternoon. Would not surprise me to get a 40-mile-per-hour wind gust. So a couple of windy days on either side of our storm chances that we have here into the evening hours after 8 o'clock. So there you go, 58 on Thursday, 54 on Friday, and up near 50 on Saturday. It is trending a little cooler this weekend. Next chance of some showers would be Friday. Best odds for those, again, look like they're probably going to be to the south, and less of a severe threat, obviously, with those, with temperatures just a little bit cooler.
All right, this is no joke. Some more positive news to talk about. After all these storms, some more spring-like temperatures into next week.
It's April, for crying out loud.
It's April.
Let's see what we can do here. 10-day forecast shows some promise towards the end of it. It is a little cold to start next week. Got some morning lows down in the 20s, afternoon highs in the 50s, right near 50. But look at that, mid and upper 60s. A really good week next week. You don't see any rain chances. A little time to dry out maybe. Warmer than average weather for the western half of the country through the middle of the month. Colder to the east, but here's something of note. First time I've seen this in a little while. The drier than average weather may overspread a good chunk of the country. So take whatever rain we can get over the next couple of days. It might dry up a little bit heading into the middle of the month. We have erased a good chunk of the drought so far.
Yeah.
And hopefully this rain here tonight can help out a little bit, and we can enjoy the middle of the month.
Interesting, we get drier as we talk about April, because the April showers bring us the May flowers, Russ.
I don't know. Well, early April showers.
Early April.
There we go.
All right. All right, let's go to traffic. I messed this up. You have a new crash to tell us about.
I do, and we're seeing some delays on 108th as a result of this. So you're getting north of Q is where you're looking at the issues. And this crash roughly around John Galt O. In that area is where we have the reports of this crash being in place. So you can see those delays in the lead up to that area as you head northbound. Watch for that as a spot where you could run into some delays here as emergency crews work that scene. You need to watch for that one being a rough spot. You can see the wind kind of bouncing the DOT camera some. Watch your entrance to eastbound Dodge from 168th as well as 180th. You can see the lane blocked off on the right-hand side at 168th. I think as we pick things up over the next half hour or so, we may start seeing more delays there. So far, we're doing okay around that area. Elsewhere, you can see 180th, that's the left lane where that ramp has the lane blocked off. So another spot where we could get things slowing down as more and more people get out onto the roads. Mostly moving along pretty well. There's the first signs of delays on the northbound JFK right near I-80, but it's mostly going to be where you've run into those construction areas over the last day or two that you're going to be seeing those delays really stack up this morning. So plan accordingly for that, and you should be in good shape the way things look right now.
All right, Jarrett, thank you.
All right, a woman is in jail this morning accused in a deadly stabbing in Bellevue.
A police booked 26-year-old Josephine Baker for murder. Officers responded to an apartment complex near Nebraska Drive and Kansas Drive for reports of a fight. That's where they found 43-year-old Jeffrey Hettinger stabbed to death and detained Baker at the scene. She was taken for a medical evaluation and later arrested.
Update this morning on a late-night house fire that we brought to you as breaking last night. Omaha fire officials say this was caused by an electrical event. Crews responded to the area of 25th and Mason Street just after 9 o'clock last night. A small fire was found inside the attic. It was extinguished a couple minutes later. No injuries to report. Damage, though, is estimated to be at $20,000. Coming up, it's perhaps the best day of the year for all those pranksters in your life.
Interesting history you may not have known about April Fool's Day when First Alert 6 streaming returns.
All right, it's the day for jokesters to rejoice. It is April Fool's Day.
Yes, with elaborate hoaxes on tap. Be sure to triple check viral posts.
Oh, yeah.
And don't leave your back open to any stray sticky notes. April Fool's Day has roots stretching all the way back hundreds of years. One idea is that it dates back to France in 1564 when King Charles IX moved the New Year celebration from its week-long observance in late March to January 1st. Those who forgot or were never told about the change were mocked because of that. So there you go. That's how it got started.
Why do we have these, Jarrett?
April Fools.
I have no idea.
What?
I don't know.
Okay. There we go.
He just ran off the set and gave us these. I like it.
Really fast, we have to say the best April Fool's Day prank I ever was a part of was when Dave Zavolinsky hid Rusty's car.
Yeah.
He took his keys.
The whole car?
He parks in the same spot.
Great.
And Rusty walked out and his car was gone. And we were filming it the whole time. And he walked in and then he walked back out. He was so confused.
Because I always leave my car keys. You know, I take everything out of my pockets for on air, and I didn't notice. And he put it in the underground parking garage. I had no idea.
That was fabulous.
Oh, that's great.
All right. We got to go. Thanks for joining us. We're going to get ready for our update in the Today Show, which you can watch on streaming or over the air.
Live from WOWT, this is our First Alert 6 weather day.
Good Tuesday morning, everybody. It is 7:26. I'm Cerise Cole.
And I'm Erin Hartley. Lots to get to this morning. Update on traffic and a First Alert Weather Day with both Rusty and Jared.
Let's talk about that First Alert 6 weather day here. And we have strong south winds that are looking likely out of this before any storms arrive. The biggest difference between yesterday and today when looking at the forecast is that now the storms look like they're going to arrive a little later, probably after 8 o'clock. 8 to midnight's that 4-hour window. Hail and wind gusts are the main threat with these as they move through. Tornado threat still looks like it's going to be down to the south. So the threats haven't changed. The timing is slid a little later, and it's still going to be pretty darn windy before any storms arrive. Notice the wind gusts out of the southeast, 40 to 45 pretty easily. Don't be surprised by some 50-mile-per-hour wind gusts. It is going to be blustery today, and you can see how we even have a couple light showers out there possible this morning. Very spotty and sparse, but they're on the map. Things are pretty quiet all afternoon. It's cloudy. It's cool, it's breezy, and then there's the storms trying to move in. Notice by 8, 9, 10 o'clock, this model suggests most still on the Nebraska side, arriving a little later. We'll send it over to Jarrett with an update on a new crash.
This is 108th seeing impacts. The crash right around O to John Galt, so we're between Q and L as you're heading northbound. Pretty sizable delays that are showing up there. Watch for that. In addition to that, as you're trying to cross in from Council Bluffs to Omaha on 480, the construction that's ongoing causing all sorts of issues. There you can see down to single digits with our speeds at some points and backups that are starting to approach I-29. Watch for that carefully. Consider I-80 as your alternate routes, moving along in a lot better shape than what you have there. JFK starting to show signs of delays as well as eastbound Dodge around 144th.
A good reminder for today's primary. Polls are open from 8 in the morning till 8 o'clock tonight. Early ballots must be in a drop box by 8 p.m. You can find that list of drop box locations and the polling places up on our website. That's at firstalert6.com. The top 2 vote getters in both the mayoral and the city council races will advance to the general election. That's all happening May 13th. First Alert 6 will have complete coverage of today's primary throughout the day.